Welcome to Coby's Brain, Episode 4. The date is May 31st, 2020, and we're coming at you at a very interesting time in history. So, before we even start today, I think we should mention we were considering, on a more serious note, we were not even we were considering not even having a show today due to fear that it would distract from the Black Lives Matter movement and the protests taking place to bring awareness to that super important cause. However, given the fact that it's probably just my mom and dad watching, who are both very big supporters of this movement, I think we're gonna have the show go on. The show will go on, but we will also briefly, talk about this movement and why it's so important, especially right now in the wake of the tragic death of George Floyd. So, the biggest thing that Coby's Brain wants to do is encourage our viewers to learn as much as they can about the history of African American oppression in this country, and to learn about the long-standing history of police brutality that has taken place in this country. And when questioning, I guess, some of the things that have been going on, kind of to take the perspective of, imagining that the entity that was otherwise expected to protect you is actually going to harm you, in which case the entire system is problematic. So, because of the problematic nature of the system, I think that looking at that as an explanation for a lot of the terrible things that are happening. And so I'm just hoping that and also the fact that all of these years of peaceful protests, which haven't been especially effective, everything has been continuing in spite of that. So we can just hope that these events lead to constructive social change, systemic change that hopefully begin the process of uprooting racism from the hearts and minds of so many misguided American people. But we just want to encourage as much learning about racial injustice as possible, and also to also Amanda will post a link to a place where you can donate in order to support this people working towards bringing awareness of this important cause to the forefront of the news. So thank you for that serious. I'm glad we took that time to talk about that very serious topic. And Black Lives Matter, very important, and we're very excited to we're very hopeful for the future and what that will hopefully bring, given the awareness that is being brought to this issue. We're hopeful, and hope for the safety and health of those who are currently protesting, and all who are trying to bring this issue to the forefront of Anyways, we will now be moving on to less serious matters and diving into the entertainment section of Coby's brain. So we're going to start with a movie that I watched pretty recently called Saving Silverman. So Saving Silverman is a film that was from 2001. It's a buddy comedy, basically about this friend group consisting of Jason Biggs, Steve Zahn, I don't know if that's how you pronounce that, Jack Black, and it's these three guys. Silverman is Jason Biggs, and he ends up in a relationship with Amanda Peet's character, Judith, and that relationship just kind of breaks the friend group apart. And so that's kind of I'd say that's a pretty common social phenomenon when, there's a group of friends, male or female, whose dynamic is interrupted by the introduction of a relationship, and this film plays with that phenomenon and really tries to bring some humor to that. And obviously, this cast manages to do a pretty amusing job of doing that. It's pretty dark comedy, pretty absurd, and if if you're specifically into that kind of absurd humor, which most critics aren't, I think you'll really enjoy this film. You'll find it pretty amusing. And yeah, we gave it a 7.4. So pretty good. Amusing film, very funny. If you like Jack Black, he is quite funny in this movie. So one of the funny, more ridiculous Jack Black performances that I've seen. All right. Next, we're going to talk about another somewhat dated comedy known as Just Friends from 2005, starring Ryan Reynolds, Amy Smart, and Anna Faris. So Amy Smart basically plays Ryan Reynolds' dream girl in high school, and they're best friends, but in high school, she does not love him back because they're just friends. So this is, I think, one of the earlier instances of the term friend zone, which is which is also an interesting phenomenon, very commonly used colloquial term these days about when there's two individuals, one of whom is deeply attracted to the other, while they really care for that other person, only view them as a friend. And that's what happens to Ryan Reynolds, unfortunately for him. And it's very painful for him in high school, and he ends up taking that experience and going out and losing a bunch of weight and becoming a super successful music executive in Hollywood. And he returns back expecting, he's a big shot. He can be with any woman he wants. But it turns out that the reason that that Amy Smart's character liked Ryan Reynolds' character so much in terms of his personality, she loved his personality, but I guess didn't love the way he treated himself. This is not to body shame anyone, but he was not physically attractive to her at that time. He becomes physically attractive, but that changes the type of person he is, which is pretty unfortunate. And she's no longer likes him because he's kind of a for lack of a better word, a dick. And I guess it's somewhat of a contradictory message, actually, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more. So, he got handsome. She likes him now. But he's a dick. So, she doesn't like him. Then he gets back in touch with his old self. And she ends up liking him. And it's super romantic that they end up together. Which is, I guess, a strange message. But definitely requiring a little bit more thought. Any comments on that movie will be welcome in the chat. And Anna Faris is hilarious. She plays a starlet who is obsessed with Ryan Reynolds. And despite the fact that the movie, again, is a little dated, not super PC, it was very funny. And we gave it a 7.6. So, way to go, director Roger Kumble. All right, we are moving on to one of the most long-awaited albums of the quarantine. Gunna, one of my favorite rappers, has released Wunna, which is a great album. I think it's his second album. Came out a couple weeks ago, and it's amazing. Produced by the talented producers Turbo and Wheezy, and yeah, he's so cool. I guess is ultimately he's super cool. So Stanford every year has a concert called Blackfest. And Gunna performed at it this year virtually. So alumni were also able to watch the concert. And me and a bunch of friends got to check out Gunna's live performance I think it was like 3 days after Wunna was released. And it was an amazing performance. Gunna he's so just smooth. And, so way to go, Gunna, for performing for a bunch of college kids. And yeah, you keep doing your thing. Coby's Brain loved this album. We gave it an 8.5, which is a great rating. And I think it's on track to be Billboard #1. So many bangers on the Coby queue, including Argentina, Feenin', Dollars on My Head featuring Young Thug, Skybox, Top 4 featuring Travis Scott, and Far featuring Young Thug. Amazing album. Would definitely recommend it. That's a great rating for an album. And Gunna, you just keep doing your thing, man. You're killing it. I'm proud. I was with you right from the beginning. I was into Gunna as soon as he was, I think, my earliest instance of becoming a Gunna fan. He's top 3 probably favorite rappers. Was when he was with performed Eat with Nav. So it's a few years ago, and he's just been blowing up ever since then, and he deserves it. He's quite a talent, so way to go. All right, so now we are moving on to Coby's game blog, which is one of the less developed elements of Coby's Brain. Again, I'm not a huge gamer, but I do appreciate a good video game. And a great video game that I've loved for a really long time and recently have been getting back into. I got really into this back when it came out in high school, where we had computers in high school, and occasionally everyone was playing this game during class and recess. It was called Robot Unicorn Attack. It's just an amazing game. If you haven't played it, all it takes is a Google search, and you can find it online. You can play it on just about any computer. It's the image that we have, or the video that we have, is actually of Rainbow Unicorn Attack 3, which I've never played, but it looks really cool. It's 3D, but it's the same thing. It's just a running game, and basically you're a a rainbow or a robot unicorn, and your objective is to make it as far along the map as you possibly can. All you do is press Z to jump, and you can jump twice, and then X to plow through these rock stars. And it's great. It's super. Initially, the song Erasure, or Always by Erasure is playing, so it's just a little ridiculous, and obviously the aesthetic and concept are just like a tad ironic, and so it has that immediate appeal, but because of how addictive and just fun it is, it just remains enjoyable. And even to this day, I think about this game, and as of recently, I started kind of playing it again, and it's a phenomenal game. So, super easy to play too. I think my best score ever is I've gotten over 100,000. I looked it up. The record, you have 3 tries basically, and I think the record for highest score ever is like 323,000. So, I knew a thing or two about how to plow through some rocks as this robot unicorn. So again, great game. Gave it a 9.1. It's a great score for anything on Coby's Brain, but this is a classic, timeless game. Probably going to go down in history. And if you haven't tried it, anyone can try it. I recommend doing so. All right. Next up, we're still on the game blog, and we're going to talk about a board game. And this board game, I was recently with my girlfriend Amanda and her brother and his girlfriend, and we played this game, Codenames. It's a 4-person game, and it took a little bit for us to understand exactly how it's played. And it's just a really interesting board game. Basically, you pick a partner, and you have to communicate to your partner. Let's say I'm a spy master. My partner I have to communicate with one-word clues who the spies are, and the spies are just words, and so you basically have to guess based on one-word clues what the spies are, which are other words. Really hard to explain, honestly. I probably did a terrible job, but you just gotta jump in. You gotta get the game, and you'll end up having a pretty good time doing it once you get it. It'll be interesting. It's a word game. It's a word game, and I think this is going to be a pretty iconic board game, and a lot of people are going to be playing it in the future. It's a really fun kind of party game, and I hope to play more of it in the coming years. So I gave this an 8.2, which is also, so things have been getting pretty great reviews. I guess I've been in a pretty good mood lately, but I guess, I don't know. It's a good, well-reviewed game. Really interesting game. I'm interested to see why everything's been getting such good reviews. But if you haven't tried this game, I implore you to give it a peek. All right. Next up, we are going to talk about a current event that took place yesterday, May 30th. SpaceX and NASA managed to safely send 2 people into space, and they were able to dock at the International Space Station, and it was, pretty relative to past launches. SpaceX has pretty futuristic rockets, and it was a big success in terms of a commercial company sending people to space. Now, a lot of people are upset that this launch distracted from the movements that have the Black Lives Matter protests that have been taking place, and I think that's totally understandable. And it's when I think of the SpaceX launch, though, it is just important to think about it as like a historical scientific feat. And although it is in it is a significant historical feat in terms of space travel, and I really hope that once again, like, back in 1969, when we first landed on the moon, and that was just an event that really brought the whole world together. I think it was 1969. We get a fact check on that. For the first moon landing. I think that
69, July 20th.
Perfect. Shout out the astronauts who pulled that off, and the crew, everyone, they crushed that. So the way that space travel kind of brought the whole world together and gave humanity that feeling that we were all working together towards something was pretty exciting. And maybe not now, considering how tense everything is in the country, but I love the idea of all of humanity together working towards kind of a shared goal. And we're all together in these human achievements of ours. And yeah, it probably didn't come at a great time, but I still think the advancements that we have in space travel are definitely a significant human achievement. I wrote earlier with regards to the film Ad Astra, which brought up kind of the question if humanity is truly ready to expand into space. Like, what will commercial space travel really look like? Will it just be the super wealthy leaving the planet as the environment kind of deteriorates, leaving all of the poor people on a burning Earth? Like, I really hope not. That's kind of a terrible prediction for what commercial space travel is going to look like in the future. But it's certainly possible. Also, we just have a lot of issues as a human species. We're very. I recommend watching the film, just because the film really gets at that idea. Humanity may or may not be ready to expand and but I hope we get to the point where we're all just one giant human species together, working towards advancements in science and understanding of the universe and how to best live amongst ourselves. And I see major scientific breakthroughs as hopefully indicative of we might be making some positive steps. Anyways, congrats to SpaceX and everyone who was responsible for that rocket launch. Okay, so for this next segment, we have an important guest. That's your cue, guest. Guest. And we are going to address this very interesting question. Is Bill Murray, this is Bill Murray, the cutest dog in the universe? So, oh, you're so cute. No, Bill, stay, please stay with us. Please stay with us. So, the immediate answer gets into something I talk about a lot in Coby's brain, which is the danger of speaking in absolutes. So, to say that Bill Murray is the cutest dog in the universe definitely violates a principle that I hold dear, that it is somewhat dangerous to speak in absolutes. And where does that idea come from? I write extensively about it, and I talk about how, you don't know, right? In order to truly say that Bill Murray is the cutest dog in the universe, I would have to do an in-depth empirical analysis of all the other dogs in the universe and how cute they are. Bill, stay. He doesn't like being on camera. He's shy. So you might have to revert to the photo. Bill, come back. To the photo over here. But yeah, that's the danger, is it's hard to say. Number two, it's cognitively lazy to say that, to avoid thinking back to all of the other dogs that I've seen and just assume that Bill is in fact the cutest of them all. And third, frequently using absolutes discredits the occasional phenomenon of a true absolute. So you got to be careful when saying absolutes, but I frequently find myself saying that Bill Murray is the cutest dog in the universe. So that obviously, the sole intention of doing that is to express enthusiasm regarding just how cute he is. So, do I truly believe that Bill Murray is the cutest dog in the universe? To my knowledge, I've done a cognitive assessment of my memories. And, shout out Sammy. That's my old dog. He was super cute, but unfortunately he passed away and he's no longer in the universe. But based on all of my limited knowledge of the dogs that are present in the universe, yes, I think Bill Murray is in fact the cutest. I think in this specific case, an absolute may be warranted. And I tend to avoid absolutes because, for the reasons that I've expressed. However, I think it could be safe to say that based on my subjective perception, Bill Murray is in fact the cutest dog. However, we have to get into another important, potentially conflicting, piece of information that would conflict this idea, and that's the mother effect. So you hear about, some kid who, and they're like, yeah, that's a face only a mother could love. And yes, the mother of that face probably does in fact love it. And that brings up a point, Bill, I see him every day. I admire him. I gawk at him. And I have to think that what influence does that have on my subjective perception of how cute he is? And the truth is, I bet everyone probably thinks that their dog is the cutest dog in the universe. And subjectively speaking, they may be correct. That dog may subjectively be the cutest dog that person perceives because of the shared experiences they've had with that dog, the love they have for that dog, etc. However, that brings up the other kind of the fact that people have attempted to objectify such a question with, I forget what's that dog's name that's they've done a scientific assessment of what is objectively categorized as cute, and one dog, what's the dog's name? They determined one dog, cutest dog in the world. Cutest dog in the world. It was like a Pomeranian or something. Oh.
Marshmallow?
Yeah. Oh, Boo. Boo, who recently passed away, unfortunately. Unfortunately. was given like an objective assessment of what is cute, that was the cutest dog in the universe. So it's a complicated question. It's a really complicated question, and I think the ultimate conclusion is that just like dogs are great because the admiration that we feel towards them and hopefully that they feel towards us is a beautiful thing, and just an example of love, which I think the world needs more of. And I have a lot of theories about love and like what it truly is, and I think that there's no more noticeable manifestation of love between humanity and dogs, and I just hope we can figure out how to replicate that amongst the relations we have with each other. So that's our show. Thank you to all of my viewers. Just a reminder. So sorry the show was late today. Generally, the show will be taking place at Sundays at 4. So look forward to that, and follow all of the channels. Sponsor a future episode if you have a great product, and donate to Black Lives Matter, because it's an important time in history for us to continue to make the world a better place. That's our show. Thanks for watching.